Hello, everybody. Welcome to My Favorite Shitty Movie. We are back. It's toxic times, which means it's time to bring Toxie on the show. Finally, that's right. We are here tonight to do Trauma's instant classic. It was great then. It's great now. It'll be great 100 years from now if we survive. The Toxic Avenger. 1984, what a perfect year. Orwell warned us. We didn't listen to him either because we probably banned that book now. It'll be harder for you, but try to find it. It's a really good story. We are here tonight. I'm so excited we are doing this. Eric Wing, who is really fancy, and he's an Emmy-nominated producer, and he's an editor, and he's fabulous. He is a big, big movie buff. And Eric is one of those guys that, like, I swear to God, the good thing about Facebook, because there was a couple things. One of them is Eric. Eric and I have actually never met in person. Eric and I have met over Facebook. We have a love of politics on a certain side of the aisle, perhaps. We're aspirational because we think we can be doing better, and we should be. But we really, really love movies. And we love probably unconscionably bad films, but we like them anyway, but also the classics. I am always impressed with the way he kind of analyzes films. And even when we disagree, I'm like, God, that's such a good point. Totally don't agree, but totally great point. And that's what we love about the show. We like to bring people on with different perspectives and points of view who just really just love film. Because after all, this is really a podcast about celebrating movies we love. It's the name is probably a misnomer. I mean, we really always punch up and really celebrate these things. So I'm excited that we're finally getting Eric on the program tonight, and that we're going to talk about, I think, probably one of the most iconic 80s legit exploitation, understood the assignment, knew what was going on, The Toxic Avenger. Troma Studios, independent. B movies is kind, but I think they like to say that they've disrupted cinema. They were formed back in 1974, believe it or not. And they really started with sex comedies. They're really kind of doing those. I think two of the ones that I looked up that I thought were the fun titles, The First Turn On and Squeeze Play. So they started there, and then all of a sudden, wouldn't you know it, because of course it was the 80s. It was the era of the slasher. I think, some of us give Bob Clark a lot of credit. 1974, same year Troma started, Bob Clark up in Canada was doing The Great Black Christmas, kind of the killer point of view. First time the killer is inside the house with the call. But the Troma guys were starting exploitation in their own way. And then you had Carpenter directly referencing, I think, Black Christmas with his Halloween. And then we were off and running with the slash genre that, of course, Todd and I know and love, particularly Todd, who worships, rightly so, the Friday the 13th franchise, even though it has 13 in the title and it stopped at 12. That's all about the rights, people. It's not a lack of interest. Thus, Camp Crystal Lake, the TV show that we're all going to probably watch soon. But anyway, so Troma, basically, when they did The Toxic Avenger, this was the beginning of, wait a second, we're going to do horror comedy. But by design, very graphically violent, offensive, lots of nudity, lots of gore, unapologetic about all of it. But I would argue, and I want to bring the fellas up soon to get their take. I think even though, yes, it's exploitation, there's a lot of heart in these movies, and there's something very interesting about the lead character in this, the Toxic Avenger, Toxie, who has now become the official mascot of Troma Studios. And they've done a bunch of sequels and a remake. Finally, Peter Dinklage is going to star as Toxie in the remake that's coming out soon. Eric informed me that actually the trailer for the new film dropped today. So that is another indication of how Eric is completely tapped in and prescient. Before we bring Eric up, though, I want to bring my partner in crime, the captain of mayhem, the guy who pushes all the buttons and makes sure that things happen. Todd tonight is playing Bozo Anderson. Bring yourself into the show. Todd, what's happening?
Hey, what's up? I chose Bozo not just because of the character in the movie, but because when I was in high school, a cop in my hometown called me Bozo.
What? Why?
He said, "Do you know how fast you're going, Bozo?"
Wow.
And I, not smartly, said, "I'm going the speed limit."
How did that work out for you?
He got really mad at me, but what he didn't realize was that I worked for the Sherburne Police Department as a gate guard. So I went and said, "Hey, what's with that asshole?" And they were all like, "Oh yeah, he's an asshole. Ignore him. He's got a chip on his shoulder."
Wow. Wow, I love that. Bozo. That sounds like a line of dialogue from the film we're here to talk about tonight, actually.
Well, and people always called me because I'm a ginger, so they would call me Bozo, because there was that clown, that famous clown,
That's
Bozo the clown.
well, now we have another orange clown that hopefully has pulled focus from Bozo, so that he's not as tainted.
Yeah.
You can't blend, y'all.
I don't look anything like that guy.
No, nobody does, thankfully. Amazed. So let us bring up.
I was gonna show you my physical. I have the original release of the director's cut of the Toxic Avenger, which is like pan and scan, which I really think is the way it was meant to be seen on a VHS tape. But then they released this like 2-disc special edition that had it, as it said, in tremorphic widescreen, and it's not. I guess it is in tremorphic, but it's not anamorphic. So if you play it on a big TV, it's a little window within your giant TV.
That's good marketing, though. That's like some William Castle pixie dust.
Yeah, so we don't spend the money on actually enhancing the movie for a widescreen TV.
Right.
We call it tremorphic.
We're just going to make our own aspect ratio. Why not?
You're used to it being garbage, so it makes total sense. Yeah. The other thing I think you didn't mention about what the Toxic Avenger sort of started, I feel like, for Troma was this over-the-top offensive comedy. Which I'm sure the new Toxic Avenger will be offensive, but I don't know if you ever saw Poultrygeist. Chicken of the
Dead. That's one of the best titles ever. That's right up there with Passion of the Crust.
Yes, it is. It is. Ginger Dead Man 2, Passion of the Crust. Yeah, but it's like that movie is just, and it's a musical, of course. And I don't like musicals, but I watched that. But it was like it's not just gross, but it's offensive to everyone.
Yeah. Well, the bird flu is back. It can be reissued in a new aspect ratio, and then we can enjoy it as it was intended back in the day.
Yeah, exactly. Although I think Poultrygeist is in the right ratio because I have it on Blu-ray, so they had to step up.
It's so good. It's so good. They had to
step it up. That movie's so disgusting. Hillary made me shut it off. There's a sequence where a character gets terrible abdominal trouble from the chicken, which is the chicken of the dead. And then there's a shot from within a toilet bowl of him having terrible diarrhea. And you can tell it's shot upside down because the diarrhea like leaks all over the butt cheeks in the wrong way, which like made me laugh hysterically. But Hillary was just...
it's good to have one's limits. I also love they're like this, what's going to work is this. It's like My Beloved. Oh, I should give a shout out for this. So this past week, I think 2 days ago, actually, was the 50th anniversary of the first airing of The Bionic Woman, when she got to finally have her own standalone series, not the kind of, 2 or 3 episodes where Steve Majors was there to make sure it's girls.
Right.
Yeah. But, when she first got to do her thing. And what I always loved, especially about the first season when they were still trying to figure out the Jamie Summers, like the idea of like, okay, she's bionic, she's really fast, so we're going to slow it down. Counterintuitive, but a choice that, they'd established in the other film. But when she's jumping, unlike Steve Majors, she's got the blonde hair. They would have to tape down her hair because if she's jumping backwards and then they're rerunning it, it would go up. And they didn't really figure that out until like about the second season. So her hair is always funky when she's doing that because I'm like, oh, wait, we got to take the hair down. That was not a problem that Lee Majors had. So anyway, welcome to Random Trivia on my favorite shitty movie. Let me bring up our amazing guest, Eric. He is an Emmy-nominated producer, just like me. We're losers, but we got nominated, and that's what really matters, y'all. He's also an editor with film credits like Last Stop for Paul, Creature Features, come on, that's why you're all watching us, right? Dead Ant and Jurassic Hunt, as well as many reality TV series, Destination Truth, outdaughtered Little People, Big World, which is true, and John Carpenter's Suburban Screams, just to name a few. He's fabulous. If you're not friends with him on Facebook, do, because you want to read what this man has to say about films. Eric, welcome to the program. Hello.
Hi, I feel like my entire life has been building up to this moment, so thank you so much for having me. Let's get to some head crushing.
We've got to get you out for it. That's true, sir. Welcome. Oh my God, I'm so glad you brought this movie. We were going a little back and forth because there are so many options. Start off by, as we ask everybody the first time they're on the show, for you, like, what makes a great shitty movie? And by way of that answer, how did you arrive at this one to?
Well, I look at all art, not just movies, but I look at all art on a horseshoe. And so, like, if we're looking at, like, for example, music, you got like the Beatles, Joni Mitchell at this end, you have the Shags at this end, and then, pardon me for offending everybody, Dave Matthews Band right down here. Artists that have the talent, they have the skills, they have the ability to do something, and they don't do anything with it. And to me, you have Citizen Kane, you have Jean Dielman, you have the Toxic Avenger right here with a like bullet. Like it is,
Where are the Red Hot Chili Peppers on the horseshoe? They're
like kind of like right here, a little bit towards the bad, but you know, I mean, Flea can play bass pretty well. So
well, yeah, sure.
So he knows what he's doing. But yeah,
well,
so
Dave Matthews had that fiddle player for a while.
I mean, they're very talented. I've seen Dave Matthews live. They put on a great show, but it doesn't stick with you. It's like in and out. Once you leave the show, it's gone. But
yeah, they got corporate. They stopped being a jam band and got corporate.
Yeah. I think they did.
I feel the same way about the Chili Peppers. They stopped being like a
100%. They're right down there. But you know what? I will say I went to see Green Day, who normally I would have put down there, and they were so good they started to inch their way up. I thought they were so good. Anyway, different podcast.
Good for you, Green Day. Good for you.
Yeah,
we really made it. For me, I'm not one of these people that like poo-poos the term shitty movie or guilty pleasure. These are all wonderful terms that we can use. And I think there are different types of shitty movies. There's the John Waters Pink Flamingos shitty movie where they know very much what they're doing and they're enjoying doing it. Then you have like the Battlefield Earth movie where they think they're making a masterpiece and it's just garbage. Toxic Avenger, by every account, is the first version of that. It's something like Lloyd Kaufman and Michael Hertz really knew how to milk the bad quality of their filmmaking in a way that's entertaining. And I think the only difference between a good movie and a bad movie, and I'm not saying shitty movie, but a good movie and a bad movie, is pacing. And this movie moves.
Yeah,
this movie from start to finish moves. So
you're
like,
right.
What's the total running time? Like 74 minutes or something?
It's like an hour. It's like an hour and 28 with credits.
Oh, is it that long? Their director's cut.
Credits, but it's not even an hour and a half, which is, again, if you're telling this movie, modern day filmmakers, again, it's like The Brutalist. I'm like, I felt brutalized. It's like when people were like, dude, Oppenheimer for best editing. I'm like, I didn't have an editor. I don't believe that. Like, it never stopped playing, y'all.
Someone asked Soderbergh recently in an interview why all of his newer movies are clocking in. They're clocking in at 90 minutes. And he said, well, because, you cut a lot of stuff because it's a waste of money.
Well, I will say
and I was like, yeah.
The film I'm in post on right now that I went to Belfast to do, we are going to be delivering right at 90 and with credits, and it doesn't require more than that, and it absolutely, I'm so proud of that runtime because I
think you should be, and I think more people should aspire to that, because, and I'm not saying there are 3-hour, 4-hour movies that I don't feel the 3 hours,
That's the key. I think you're right, Eric.
But they're rare. They're rare. And so many movies now, like all the fucking Marvel movies are at least 2.5 hours. And it's like, Jesus Christ, this is an 80-minute movie. 80 minutes.
45 minutes of just nonsense CGI. The city is being destroyed. And just like enough. Like we get it. Let's just cut to that. Wait, it took you guys 2 hours to get to what? Oh, wait, your mom's named Martha. My mom's named Martha. Let's stop fighting. I'm like,
it's this weird idea that if you spend that much time listening to characters talk to each other, that like when the movie gets taken over by CGI, it'll matter more, but it doesn't, because it's too much CGI and it doesn't. It's not visceral enough. Like the stuff you're going after with the characters, these relationships, you're trying to make it visceral before you do the action sequences. And it's like, well,
But Jeff points out a good thing. The Soderbergh film that just was released, Black Bag, clocked in at 93 minutes, and Jeff loved it, right? But again, Soderbergh, who can also edit and direct and understands. I mean, I've never thought of
and he pointedly makes shorter movies now. I mean, he never made super long movies. But he comes in at 90 minutes because he's like, he cuts out all the fat. He's like, here's the story I want to tell, and I don't want to bore anybody. Like, he entertains first.
Leave people wanting more. I think the best cut, like, just as an editor, I think the best edited movie of all time is Beyond the Valley of the Dolls.
Hey!
He was cutting around the performances. Like, he would get out of a scene before someone would finish a sentence. He'd just be like,
we're done.
And it's beautiful. It just has a rhythm that just works.
My favorite director's cut of all time is the Coen brothers director's cut of Blood Simple, because they literally cut 1 minute from it.
It's amazing.
It's already around a 90-minute movie. They
put back some of the old needle drops, though, because I actually was at the premiere of the director's cut at Sundance. It was incredible.
Wow.
Yeah,
amazing. So going back to Toxic Avenger. So Eric, when did you first see it? How old were you? Was it in the theater? Was it on video? What did you think of it then? Is it one you revisit a lot, or did you come back to it? Like, tell us
Okay, so I think it might be the most important movie in my entire film watching life.
What? Okay, you're gonna have to.
So I'm gonna unpack
that situation. Okay.
So, growing up, I had a really close friend. His name was Darby. He was a really nice guy. His mother was really involved in the art scene in Park City, where I grew up, Sundance Film Festival. She took me to my first Sundance film. And I remember one day she showed up with some VHSs that she had rented. One of them was Plan 9 from Outer Space. She held it up and read the log line on the back. And she said, "This is the worst movie ever made." And I'm like, that's a selling point? Like, why did you rent it if that's the case? And so, it had never occurred to me that a movie could be bad. And so I just remember my friend and I, we were at King Kong Video, shout out to my old video store back in the day. And we were in the comedy section, and we saw this VHS case that had this gruesome, horrible looking monster on it. Right. And we actually thought it was Sloth right there. We thought it was Sloth from the Goonies.
Goonies, totally fair.
And we were like, oh, okay, so this is like an origin story for this beloved children's movie that we wanted to see.
Oh my God, I love that.
And we rented it, and we sat there, and I remember watching it with my friend and his mother, and it scarred me. It horrified me. We got to that first scene, which I know we're probably going to talk about in a whole section on, with the kid getting his head run over. Yeah. And I never stopped thinking about it. I could not believe a movie could do that. But even before that, just the performances, how they were so up so high, and the silliness and all that. It just blew my mind that a movie could do that.
That I heard about the head crushing scene and heard the dialogue, played before me by people I knew for a while before I actually got to see the movie. And it was forbidden. It's forbidden. It's too gross. It's too intense. It's too offensive. So you're not supposed to see that. So I was a little bit like, oh,
you were prepared.
Oh, is this going to be too much? And then I was confronted with the silliness that you're talking about, which the performances across the board are amazing. To keep up that level of energy they do on a 22-minute Nickelodeon tweener show is amazing. And then to have it be so disgusting was also amazing at the time. I mean, we've had so many.
How old were you, Todd?
I was 9.
And you were 9. You were how old, Todd?
I was probably 16
Okay.
when I saw it on VHS. Yeah.
I rented it. I think I was around, I think 14. So, but like you, I'd seen that poster on the video box, and it was in the Tower Records Midnight Madness section, which my mom had, written a note that they kept into the cash register. Yes, Tracy can rent rated R films, John Joanne Mercy, And so I was like the luckiest kid in Orange County, because everyone else was like, oh my God, Silent Night, Deadly Night, Satanic Panic. And my mom's like, let her see whatever she wants. But I loved the poster, and I think that's another thing that's lost maybe on younger generations, because if you're watching things, you're probably looking at thumbnail sketches, and maybe you can make out a graphic on your little Netflix screen. But back in the day, the poster art, like if you saw the poster art for Popcorn or Dead Alive, you're renting it, and I think this film, which goes back to the genius of Troma, was they're marketing geniuses, but because these gentlemen were older and they formed in 74, a lot of their references were what they grew up with in the 50s. So they were aping or lampooning or making fun of or making references to those kinds of movies, but just for what they thought a new generation was. And because they hit it in 74, I think with the boom of home video, certainly with Betamax leading into VHS, you could do the midnight movies, you could do the drive-ins, but the video market really helped them, I think, thrive and had a sustainable.
I think also just the fact that this is a movie about a nerd, very awkward. When I heard about him from my friends, they described him with the R word. He's this. But then I saw it, he's totally spazzy. Granted, can you say spaz? No, probably not. But
we can say anything and not be offended. What?
Yeah, he's like, but in any event, I just that worked for me.
Yeah,
it's a nerd who gets superpowers, like this bullied and that's just like a classic kind of superhero.
It is interesting too, because I think it's universal. I mean, obviously, I don't know what happened to Be Bad, Be Best Girl, who was like, cyberbullying is wrong, but I guess we just dropped that. But I feel like bullying is such a thing.
She doesn't care. Do you?
Do you? Let's go look at Children at the Border with like a coat. I don't know. This woman, I can't. There's not enough therapy on the planet. But what I think is interesting about like this thing is that there was also in the 80s, you had films like My Bodyguard, right? Which I would argue one of the better films of the era, very thoughtful, really an honest look at, like, I think, young high school guys bonding and being friends. And there's something really, really lovely. And so, but this one is, to your point, Eric, right, is an 11 by the time we meet him. Melvin is so cranked up, but I would argue this whole film is, and I think just starting with, like, I love the kind of only in the 80s, right? This apologetic warning: the Toxic Avenger contains scenes of extreme violence, which everybody's like, great, because this is the era. But he knows this is the William Castle version, I think, that he's, Lloyd and Michael are playing with Troma. And if you look, and again, I think it's important to put this film in their context, where they're like, we're doing the TNA, sex comedies, and then we're seeing the horror trend. And so we're going to stick with our brand of comedy and nudity, but we're going to add the slasher kind of brutality. And it worked. And it's really what probably launched them. So I love that from the first frame of this movie, they're like, welcome. And I like, there's an honesty, like they understood the assignment, they delivered it. Like we just did The Substance a couple weeks ago. And, Todd's biggest point, and he's not wrong, is that, if you grew up around the time we grew up and you watch body horror and Cronenberg and, Lynch and things like that, you've seen all this stuff in The Substance before, but it more brutal, more violent, less stylized maybe. And so for him, because he grew up with it, this didn't work. This is the kind of movie that shaped young Todd Henderson and all of us here, because we're like, and we'll talk about the gore when we get there, but it's unapologetic and it's telling you up front. So anyone who is clutching pearls about it, it's like, again, frame one,
Yeah, it's so interesting too, because like to get, Toxic Avenger, I just thought was sort of fun when I finally saw it, because it was so silly. Now, my friend Steve Hicks and I and our other friend John Ward, we all sat down to watch The Human Centipede because it was like a dare, you know.
You want to
like,
know?
This is the most disgusting movie, you know. And we watched it, and it's fucking gross, but we were also laughing our asses off at it.
I used to walk through the video store, and I would go to the horror section, and I was afraid. It's like your first time going on a roller coaster. I was afraid to rent those movies, but the version of those movies that I would make up in my head just based on the cover art was so much worse than they could ever be. So when I accidentally saw the gateway drug that was the toxic Avenger, that opened the floodgates. And then I watched all the Friday the 13th. I watched all the Howlings. There's like day after day after that.
There's only one movie that I have not been able to bring myself to see, and that is a Serbian film, which I've heard I haven't seen it either, and I've heard so much about it, and I'm just not sure. I mean, because like The Human Centipede was supposed to be that sort of thing, and it's really not as bad. I mean, it's bad, but it's not as bad as you would think. Whereas, I don't know. I'm curious, but I don't know. I don't know if I want to be that offended.
For me, as long as it's fake. It's like if it's all like I won't watch Faces of Death. I won't watch Animal Cruelty or anything like that. But like as long as it's fake and it's, you know.
What about what about movies that are fake, but then they also have animal cruelty, which is
it's a
all
case
old westerns, for example.
That's the thing. Like you watch Stagecoach with the tripwires, it's hard to watch. Like
they killed horses all the time.
I know, it's pretty horrifying.
And then there's Cannibal Holocaust, which
I think is
an effectively creepy movie, but it's the animal killings that make you go. It's not the inherent racism of the story. It's animals.
So they have this film festival in Los Angeles called Bleak Week. I'm sure you guys have heard of it, where they show the most depressing movies ever made. And the very first movie they ever showed at Bleak Week was Sallow, 120 Days of Sleep.
That's another one that I think is best.
I don't know if you guys have seen it, but I will tell you, seeing that movie with a crowd that is there specifically to see the most horrifying movie you could ever see. There were no walkouts. Most of the audience had not seen it. They gave it a standing ovation at the end. It was like this cathartic sort of like, oh, we're all here to see how bad like somebody's mind could produce something on the screen. And the Toxic Avenger is a version of that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So let's jump in. So we quickly establish, right? We're in Tromaville, which apparently takes a lot of pride in the toxic chemical capital of the world. What an odd way to start. So it's not Bedford Falls, y'all. So here we are in Tromaville. Talk us through this, Eric. What's happening?
Okay, so the movie centers on a 90-pound health spa janitor, Melvin Ferd, who is traumatized daily by the muscle heads that work out at the gym. One day after they play a prank on him, convincing him to put on a pink tutu and trick him into making out with a sheep. No need to go further on that subject. He is so horrified that they chase him through the spa. He jumps out of a window into a barrel of toxic waste, which transforms him into a hideously deformed mutant with superhuman size and strength. And from then on, he enacts his revenge on the wrongdoers of Tromaville. That's pretty much it in a nutshell.
That's true. And I mean, and like most of what you said is like the first 15-20 minutes, and then it's just him getting superhero revenge. I actually do have a scene from that first act where what's the blonde character's name when she seduces
Julie.
him.
She's my favorite actor in the whole movie. I love Julie for an Oscar.
She's great. So she invites him to a date. It sounds like sex, like a sex date.
Yeah.
Well, here's the clip.
In fact, I was hoping that you could help me with a little problem I've been having. Oh, me? Yes, but I can't talk about it here with all these people around. Hey, I've got a great idea. Why don't you meet me in the girls' locker room? The girls' locker room? Yes, where we can discuss it alone. Alone? Okay. Let's say 7 o'clock. Okay, that'll be good for me too because I have to clean the toilets in there around 7. Okay, it's a date.
That is so accurate. It's upsetting.
Hillary, I showed it to Hillary and she was like, that's actually disturbing.
Like beat for beat, the like ticks in Melvin's face. Like, I can't believe how good that was.
Guys, that's exactly the tone of the movie. If you haven't seen
The whole movie is like that. And it's funny that I did that, and then I thought to myself, why did I have so much trouble auditioning for Nickelodeon shows and Disney shows? Because I would go in and I would act, and they would be like, no, bigger. And I was always like, I felt weird doing it that way.
Oh my God, it was so good. It's so good. But this whole movie is so versatile. And again, because we're in Reagan's America now, everything is like, it's the workout craze. Olivia Newton-John's telling you to get physical. Jane Fonda's doing the workouts and taking all that money for liberal causes. Joke's on you about America. But like all that good stuff was happening at the same time. And I love that, like, of all the images in the gym that they could put the title over, they picked this one. Like, guys who weren't alive back then, no gay men went to, like, especially mostly straight gyms doing this, but they're like, you know what? Everybody's included in Tromaville.
Every stereotype is going to be represented as horribly as possible.
Cigar, like, I think it's great. The Cigar Face has, like, a transvestite in his crew, and they accept him. It's just wonderful.
Everybody across the board is problematic. And what I love is, as you set up in the rules, right? It's like once he jumps out the window and falls into toxic waste, which two cocaine heads who are also drinking Budweiser, that's an interesting choice, who are drivers, like they just, have the toxic waste. It's like he comes back and it's like he only takes out really bad people, and no one ever questions the blonde chick that he's trying to strike or anything like that. I mean, she's a bitch for sure, but they're like, it's fine, we get it. It's never questioned that she deserves to be harassed because the ethos is, no, you're a bad person and he's here to protect you. So much so it sets up, an ending that
he's protecting people, but he's also death wishing people.
He's death wishing people. He's culling the herd a little bit from
getting revenge on the fucking people who bothered him, which would, like, it's always such a great fantasy, especially if you're a nerd. We need more movies like that, so to help the incels, to keep them from getting angry. We'll show them that
you've got these roles, right? So you've got this poor guy who's being seduced, who walks in, and I love that they're having sex, and she randomly at a gym has a switchblade with like a pink ribbon. The attention to detail with the voices, like
the way they have sex, I was like, what is she doing? She's gonna break it.
Yeah,
she's gonna wreck it. If it's actually erect, she's gonna break it in half.
I feel like this is, I don't want to say that like Elizabeth Berkley saw this before she went into a pool, but it's a little bit as improbable. A little bit. I'm just saying, guys, be careful out there. We quickly introduce the jerks, right, that everyone has to deal with. And what I love is in the middle of this, like this is also referencing an older Corman movie, I would argue, right? There's a Death Race 2000 element, right, Eric, to like,
oh, I love it.
You get points by doing, oh, look, you can kill animals and babies and like, it's like people with broken legs, apparently. I think that's what that's supposed to be. But again, look at the attention to detail. There's like red glitter as a cross. I mean, this is like the art department going, Lloyd, I got an idea. And they're like, go kid, and it's fabulous. Like those little details in this kind of a movie.
This contest that they have, the vehicular manslaughter contest,
And
is like a ratcheting up of Death Race 2000 just in one scene.
Also, because I think it's everybody is a target, everybody is included for good or for bad, whatever the tropes are. But what I also have to say, and this is like a weird thing to be like, yeah, girl, but I expect like, guys that look like this to be in movies like this, doing things like this. But what is unusual about this is they have girlfriends. They're not incels. They've got like the two hot girls that they all live in the gym together because zero body fat, y'all, 80s, no processed. So that's all happening. But like, so you have this brutal scene where they just mow down this little boy, and it's the girls who come out. It's the girls who are taking, pictures of like the head that's been run over because it wasn't enough to kill the boy. They had to make sure that, he's still moving. Let's do the thing. That's the headshot that
this is, by the way, just so you know, this is the world. This scene, this sequence is the world that MAGA wants. These are MAGA characters.
Well, this is training, right? This is like before you kill your pets, you do this. Like, yeah. It's very Triumph of the Will. But so you've got that. But then I love that we go back to the gym. And I think I had read somewhere that the original idea of this, I think, was Lloyd had worked on the original Rocky. And so I think in some kind of capacity and was thinking, I should use like a gym where people get killed in a gym. And the original thing was like horror gym or something to that effect, right? I think
Health Club Horror was the original title.
Horror, which again,
and we'd have to wait a couple more years for Death Spa.
Death Spa, which is fabulous. If you guys haven't seen Death Spa, it's that and Body Melt are on Shudder, always double feature. Trust me now, believe me later. But there's something really kind of great about that thing because again, these are guys who grew up in the 50s, who formed their company in the 70s, who are then spoofing Reagan era working out gym stuff. The fact that they landed on the Toxic Avenger, and that's how we know it, they were actually doing a little bit of, I think, social kind of poking the bear, even in their own lane. But like the workout officiant, this sequence where like somebody brings a snake to the gym and then the guy teaching the class is like, you guys copy what I'm doing. And so they're all like, because he's like doing this with the snake. Like that
great bit. And it went on for just the right amount of time.
This is the secret of trauma, I think. I think like there are, you have like silly movies, like, I think like What's Up Doc is a silly movie. You have like, you could do silly, and even the Zucker Brothers movies are silly. What Trauma does and has the guts to do that no other company ever does is be goofy. They're willing to be goofy. Yeah. And that's a hard thing to pull off because goofy, like we all want to reject that. That's like, that's just too. So like the whole like dancing around and they just go, let's do it. That's a goofy choice to have them do that, and it works.
Right. It's so not cool. It's kind of cool. Like,
right, exactly.
It's like Todd and I recently just watched. Was Friday the 13th Part 4 with the great Crispin Glover dance that like no one's danced like that ever. And he's like, where's the corkscrew? And he's doing this thing. And you're like, that's amazing. And that they lingered on it and they're just like, let him do this. Like, but
am I a dead fuck?
They need to say, if you did a shot every time someone used that phrase, you're dead. Alcohol poisoning.
Dead fuck. I've never heard that, and I've never heard it since. It's only in Friday the 13th Part 4 where everyone refers to each other as dead fucks.
Oh my God. Well, the other thing, and to Eric's point too, like these guys, and I looked it up, it was a $500,000 budget, which back in, 83, that's not, I have friends that are making that now, right? So this is not like it's super, super low budget, but it is what it is. But they also, I want to give props to the filmmakers who really push practical stunts. Like there's a completely unexplained bit where our guy is changing and you've got the police officer with mustache that you haven't seen since The Village People. Don't look too closely at these uniforms. None of them match or fit. It's a great bit throughout the whole film. But like he just touches this poor guy, you know, as he's like, you know, this is what he's touching, and somehow that ignites his hand. And then we go to a full body burn.
Yeah, such a good stunt. That's like amazing.
This is an incredible and really dangerous stunt that we don't do anymore because of CGI, and you know, but like on the
CGI people on fire suck. I'm sorry. It just
they haven't figured out fire.
It doesn't look good. It's the same. I'm the same way with like animals. Like, you know, you can have aquatic animals CGI and it's, you know, all right because you can muddy the water, so to speak. But like when you're dealing with like a lion, I've seen too many documentaries with lions, and I've seen lions in real life.
Yeah.
So when you CGI it, like in that, and I didn't dislike this movie. I liked it because I liked what it was going for. But Beast with Idris Elba, and what's his face from South Africa? What's his name? Damn it, just went out of my head.
Oh, now,
you know, District 9 guy.
Yeah, now my head went all the way to
Charlotte Copley. Shart. We'll go with that. We'll go with Charlotte Copley.
Jeff might if he's watching.
You know, but it's like that versus when they use real lions.
Yeah.
You know, it's I don't know.
This is a complete diatribe, but again, since I already name called Jamie Summers' 50th anniversary of Bionic Woman, one of my favorite Bionic Woman episodes, which you could never do today. So Jamie's a public school teacher, or actually she's a teacher, but on the Air Force Base. So you have United Colors of Benetton kids. She has an episode where she says, "You guys are doing share and tell today, and we've had an animal coming in." And this is what the 70s are so great. So you have nothing but 10-year-old children. She opens the door and out pops Tippi Hedren with the lion from Roar, who would go on to give Melanie Griffith the scar and almost kill somebody, right? Like literally, so Tippi's like, "Hi kids, this is a lion," and it's not on a leash, and you're like, "This is incredible. This is on like ABC primetime show." She's like, "This is a lion in the classroom." Anyway, so yes, real lions on Bionic Woman, fake lions with Idris Elba. 50 years later, what are you thinking, Hollywood? We have.
I mean, I agree though. It's safer to have cartoon lions.
Are involved, but you know,
it's safer, but it's not. I don't know. It's like real explosions versus CGI explosions.
Yes.
What would you rather see? Would you rather see a car rolling, you know, just one car rolling, or like 8 CGI cars rolling? It's just.
You mean the scene from Transformers that everyone remakes, including you know, Mr. Bay in his films? He does the same thing.
Yeah, or like the Matrix Reloaded, that freeway.
You're no Final Destination. That's all I'm saying with that image. But yeah,
and there's CGI in Final Destination too. But that freeway accident is amazing, unmatched.
It's an instant classic scene. But going back to an instant classic scene, so our guy is on fire. He goes home and he goes, you know, his mom is kind of outside the room going, "Oh my God, what's going on?" And then inside, I love that he has mommy framed by the tub. That could tell you a lot. As he's falling apart. But this is another thing. And I love, Eric, you had said earlier, it's like Valley of the Dolls where they cut. Well, before people, this scene where she, like her line, "Oh, he must finally be like," essentially she's thinking he's masturbating, I presume. But
my little Meldon, he must finally have hit puberty.
Right. And then she does this thing where the camera's right here and she's almost looking at it going, and then she walks off scene. There's like her head does a thing, and you're like, that's where you cut before that happens in a normal film, but not Toxic Avenger. It's fantastic. And she's like, "I did it," and then she leaves. You know, and you're like, okay. And so then he has the epiphany where he's like, "Oh no, like I am transformed." And then
it's a serious transformation scene. Like that scene actually, I was like a little bit like, oh God, I felt for him during that scene.
Well, you feel bad, but also I think because, again, practical makeup, the actor, you can see the performance through all the stuff, and that makes a big difference. I mean, I think Altered States is about, what, 1981? So a couple years before this, you know, you've got the famous kind of William Hurt, you know, kind of transformation in the hallway scene that somehow AHA turns into their famous video where, you know, he's going, "Arr, arr." But, you know, that 81 sequence with her, I'm not so sure that the Toxic Avenger isn't a little bit more powerful, then don't come at me. Russell's transformation and bigger budget Altered States that came before. These guys on 500K are doing what they're doing. So props to the filmmakers.
It's certainly better than the werewolf transformations in American Werewolf in Paris.
Oh God,
that is such an awesome.
That's a perfect example of they set the bar with American Werewolf in London. Some of the best like practical effects in history, and to follow it up with the dawn of CGI garbage that was an American Werewolf in Paris. Yeah, that's exactly what you guys are talking about. There is a handshake agreement with the audience that we're going to do stuff that's impressive, and we're going to show it to you. Right. And so when you do it all just with a computer, you don't have that sensation of, I can't believe somebody did that. And that's what matters.
And Jeff Luce, for those listening and not watching, is asking, I wonder what percentage of the budget was spent on just makeup effects. I bet a lot between makeup and stunts. I think the lion's share would be on this. And the work is phenomenal. But again, this is part of being like the kind of Gen X kids a little bit, where like if you grew up watching the original Alien, right? It's like guy in suit, well lit. And then you get to Alien 3 and it's early CGI where there's no weight to that dog xenomorph, and it shows. And so when you're in the iconic scene of like Ripley and the alien, cool, because that's practical. But when you get to the CGI alien, it's like, dude, 1979 kicked 1992's ass in that same franchise. And so we weren't quite there yet. I mean, I'd worked on Ang Lee's Hulk, and we didn't have Gollum yet. We didn't quite have that, and it shows. And so
I love Ang Lee's Hulk. I just want to say I considered it.
You're the one.
I love Ang Lee's
meet
Hulk.
You.
But I totally forgive the CGI. I think that movie.
It's a better film than it's remembered for.
I love when Nick Nolte turns into like a bubble
absorbing man. Yes,
it's like made of bubbles.
Yeah. Yes, he's great. But I remember being like, we made him Absorbing Man because there was a false start to Hulk. There was a $20 million budget that we don't talk about. Universal was like, we already have the action figures, and that became Absorbing Man. I'm like, why is his father Absorbing Man? Don't think too hard, kids. That's the answer. That's all. So we go back, and so he's transformed, and we are really, oh my God, we're really feeling for him. And this comes in. Okay, Eric, break down. This is your crew.
So this is, and by the way, this is when I finally let go. Like, I remember I was all clenched up from the head crushing scene, and I was like, oh my God, I've changed. Like, these people are out there. There are people that are driving around trying to run over children's heads, and I was at the age the kid was. When we got to this scene, finally I understood that I could have fun watching this stuff. Like, suddenly we're gouging out eyeballs like it's the Three Stooges.
He's cutting out. He's like basically taking off their hair.
He's scalping them. He's hitting their heads together and smashing. Yeah, I mean, that shot is just like horrifying. But by that point, I'd seen the worst thing in the movie, and so all of this became sort of white noise in comparison,
right?
And it does
becomes more of a Warner Brothers cartoon at a certain point.
But it also
like they're doing that stuff.
That's Popeye, right? That's Popeye.
Yeah, that's right, Popeye.
If you look at the age of Kaufman and Hearst, they're doing Popeye. Like, they know very much what they're doing. But I think that's also interesting because this is also where the Reagan era satanic panic, or if you're in the UK, the video nasties, when we started getting to this level of brutality, this is what upset people, because what made it, I think comfortable for you made it uncomfortable for the parents, right? It's like, wait a minute, what do you mean you're juxtaposing humor with that level of brutality, and then you got the boobs, right? So it was this whole we if we were just slasher, but I'm supposed to like him and I relate to him and he's a person, and adults did not know what to do with that. But I would argue that the target audience for this, teenagers and younger people and people who love horror, who either, if you're into that, especially in this era, you probably either were a bully or have been bullied. So you're relating to someone in this dynamic, right? That's why Halloween is so genius. Everyone either had a babysitter or was a babysitter. So, these kinds of universal things, when you're in the youth kind of mode of your life, this film hits you. So the trauma does, but then the comedy, and it gives you permission to relax.
You mean the trauma hits you?
The trauma, I think a lot of the humor.
I used to think it was trauma when I was younger. I was like, I want to work for Trauma Entertainment.
Yeah. Because the traumatize a lot of us. But you know, but I
That's
also
awesome.
speaking of the Hulk, and again, I shout out to the indie filmmakers here, right? Because you have the shot where he's walking around after his mom kicks him out. Tell me this isn't Bruce Banner hitchhiking by himself, right? It's a little bit of a callback to that. I'm the loner, and I have an anger problem, and I'm this guy, and I'm walking alone, and how am I ever going to fit in? But now his voice has grown up, and he's kind of lovely. But then you have the juxtaposition to the political people. Like, look at the way that they prominently top polls taped at sex parties. The larger gentleman is literally like the mayor with some random girl without a bra dancing behind him, and you're like, they're like, it's the New York Post, but this isn't set in New York, right? I think it's Jersey. But but they're like literally making fun of the politicians, the way that they're dressed, the way that their size, the whole thing. These guys don't like the political establishment, and they're making them the villains just as much as anybody else in Tromaville, which it was kind of fun. And let's talk about this sequence, Eric, because as an editor, you must have just had so much fun.
Well,
First of all, it's clearly a Taco Bell, by the way. That they
it's actually, I looked this up. It's called the Mexican Place. That's the
real?
real name of the restaurant, the Mexican Place. It looks like a Taco Bell.
With the thing.
It has the same. They might have done.
I
the thing
seriously wonder if it's the same restaurant they used in Poultrygeist Chicken of the Dead.
It looks the same.
I
I just
looks
watched that
like
this morning. I was just like trying to catch up. So I watched Poultrygeist this morning, and I was like, "Is that the same restaurant?"
Yes, so they use the same location and the same extras and the same.
I bet
everything.
it was. It makes
probably
total
was.
sense.
I think you're
Lloyd Kaufman probably owns a franchise of some low end.
Well, the funny
That's
thing
true.
that's so I've been binging a lot of trauma movies. I'd seen a lot of them, but I hadn't seen them since I was a kid. And one of the things that they do, not unfortunately in the Toxic Avenger, they started in Sergeant Kabuki Man NYPD. They had this beautiful shot of a car crashing and flipping upside down and then exploding, and it's like just an amazing stunt. And then they started reusing the exact same footage in every movie afterwards, and they end Poultrygeist on it.
Yep.
When you have a good shot, you use the shot. So it's like he is definitely economic, and they made a joke out of it. Like you could see, like they have like a super cut on YouTube where you can watch all the different crashes.
But see, that's that ethos. That's that trauma. It's that
Do it yourself. Yeah.
And like I remember when they finally in Venice blew up Corman's old studio. Corman was the first guy out there filming it from every angle, and that building has been blown up. And every movie he made after the demolition, he's like, I'm gonna use this.
Yeah,
it's so good. It's so good. But like, so this sequence, like this to me is, I don't want to say tour de force because I understand we're not doing Orson Welles here, but for what this is, I mean, isn't this kind of like an epic, like?
It's incredible stuff. It's cut well, like it's seamless. Like he rips the guy's arm off, they start hitting him. This guy was reading. It's funny you go on this guy. This guy quit the movie after the day ended on this scene because he thought it was so brutal and so offensive. And like he's so shocking in it, and then he's the one who quit the movie. He was like,
he upset himself. He upset himself that he could do that.
Maybe he's method. I don't know what his thing is, but
well, it's probably not that he's method. It's that like he read it on the page and was like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna be in this over the top movie." But then when he did it, I understand. I'm not saying he's a bright actor.
No, he said the reason was because he had to point a shotgun at a baby.
At a baby.
I get it. Oh my God, there it is. There it is.
Yeah, and it's true. I didn't quit, but on a show, I had to put a baby in a drawer. And that was too much for me. I was like, I don't think I should put this baby in a drawer.
But that scene, it's definitely upping the ante. I mean, you get a dog death, which by the way, I watched the commentary.
Seeing eye dog.
The dog was safe. They took care of the dog was trained to slide like that, believe it or not. But it's cut so well that you're like, oh my God, did they really shoot a dog?
But this is also, I don't know that this is true. I'm just guessing. But like the guy who apparently quit with this makeup, I feel like there's a call out to Walter Hill's, The Warriors.
Oh, yeah. He definitely looked like that.
So he's kind of like doing but again, they're referencing they're referencing things that I would argue I think The Warriors has a political context.
Mhm.
But like, I think that they're playing with these things, but in the Reagan era, it's an interesting idea. But this is something that you're in a grindhouse movie when, because we don't even like kids. Like, I'm convinced if Spielberg himself remade Jaws, the naked girl would still die. The dog would be safe, and Alex would lose a limb. Like, we don't kill children a lot anymore. It's really rare when we do. And when we do, people make a point of talking about it. You see the movie where the kid actually died? But
well, when you kill a kid or a dog, it's an all bets are off movie.
But
And then like if you're horror or action,
and no one's safe.
Once you do that, then it puts people on the edge of their seat because they don't know you don't know as an audience member what these people are going to do to you now that they've done this. Some people can't get by it. I understand that. But for me, it puts me in like, oh, shit. Oh, shit.
You buckle in. You buckle your seatbelt and you're like, oh, my God, that is like really happening. And like, you don't know what's going to happen because you saw a kid's head get run over earlier on in the movie.
And I'm not here to judge the stage parents of these children and babies who are put in this movie. I'm just here to enjoy the movie.
The kid's 42 by now, so
But this scene sets up a lot because it sets up that Tromaville might be the toxic waste capital, I guess, of the world. But it also sets up that there's like crime and there's problems. And so we also introduce who's going to be Toxie's love interest. And she's blind and she's got a seeing eye dog, aforementioned. I did not take a shot of that because I'm too much of a dog lover. But then you've got this guy who, I don't know, just fresh off of his triumph in The Wiz, he shows up here and he's so grotesque and hateful that you're like, I want something terrible to befall him. And that happens because Toxie shows up. But like, the idea that he rips off his arm and there's like a spurt of blood, you could even see in this still, like the blood is so clearly being injected with like, it's like they didn't even really try that.
You can also see in this still clearly where his arm is.
No, he doesn't have it. He is an amputee. He actually is missing an arm, believe it or not.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Then why did they make it look like he was hiding his arm inside his jacket?
I don't know.
Was that like a special effects stuff?
I think it was very cheap production. They went out of their way to find a guy that only had one arm, and then it still looks like a guy's hiding his arm.
That's
actually so weird.
Also, in a world where we don't cast enough actors with disabilities, like that's ahead of its time too. So that's interesting.
Have you guys ever seen the Crippled Masters? The martial arts classic, the Crippled Masters? With real people missing like limbs. It's like a couple of guys who fight and they like are missing limbs, have various physical problems. It's amazing. Just start with the trailer on YouTube. Look up the Crippled Masters trailer. Start there. If you're like, whoa, then definitely watch the original theatrical American release. But if you can watch the 3-hour original cut of the Crippled Masters, I'd recommend it because the martial arts in it is amazing.
Well, that's another thing that I don't have a still from it, but in this pseudo Taco Bell, not Taco Bell, but really the Mexican place, because I guess that's where you're at. But like you actually have like this guy, who gets pinned down and then they boil his hands, in the thing. Like they actually have like some martial arts going on too. So you get Toxie who's like beating him with like the guy's arm doing the thing. And you're just like, this is like, it's gotten to such a degree. So we've set up the love interest. We've destroyed all these terrible guys who seem like the Warriors wannabe. And in this scene goes on for
it's like a Jackie Chan sequence. It
really
is.
It totally is that. It's remarkable. Again, $500,000. But then, Toxie saves the blind girl, and which is kind of like, I mean, there's like the blind girl trope. Like I feel like in my head, like in 1931, right? Charlie Chaplin does right? Where he's like,
Right.
right. But I think Lloyd and Michael are so old that I do think they're doing the blind girl trope where it's like he's a little tramp and there's the woman who sells the flowers who's blind, so she doesn't see that he's a tramp because she hears a door. I think she assumes he's a millionaire, but not. And so finally, it doesn't matter because they find true love, and it's this whole thing. And I would argue it's a variant on even Frankenstein or Bride of Frankenstein, which comes out 35. There's the blind beggar who can't see the Frankenstein's monster, and they have that kind of really great romance thing, which the great late we just lost Gene Hackman plays to comedic effect perfectly. Young Frankenstein, but the idea of the blind pure person who doesn't see the physical difference of somebody who's been deformed, and there's a connection there, and again, this is a very specific trope. I think it's very City Lights. I think it's very Bride of Frankenstein. And I think absolutely Lloyd Kaufman and Michael Herz are smart enough.
He said it. He said that he was inspired by City Lights.
Okay. So. No, but it's like that thing where you're like, this is great. Like, but he's so of an age where he's referencing that in something called The Toxic Avenger. Like, I just can't stress enough how cool that is, that exploitation films, they are taking their inspiration from all kinds of sources, and don't write off the guys who don't have a lot of money, who like to do horror, because there's a lot of creativity here. And I don't like when we ghettoize horror. I mean, Todd and I are the biggest advocates for like horror and sci-fi. And I feel like in society, there's like, it's porn and then horror. And it's like, that's not fair. Silence of the Lambs.
No, it's not. Especially
marketed as a thriller, and it won Best Picture.
Yeah,
I mean, Lloyd Kaufman and Michael Herz went to Yale. They're intelligent people. That's where they met.
Guys.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's a filmmaker who recurringly makes jokes on X, formerly known as Twitter, Nazi site, but he's a good guy. I think. I think it's Joe Russo or something, but he's always making the joke that is horror back. Because, I know people look down on the genre and continue, even though The Substance got nominated this year, but people continue to look down on the genre. But the genre, Friday the 13th being a great example of saving Paramount Pictures from demise.
And they're the most
all these horror movies that come out every year, all year. They don't just come out in October, they come out all year. And a lot of them do really well. They always focus in the press on the ones that bomb. Oh, the new one. Horror comedy is dead because of Slither.
Slither was outstanding, but also
Slither's awesome too.
Lloyd Kaufman's in it.
Yes. And that's right. And in a world where like someone might take 4 hours to tell a fake, architect story, we also, we had The Heretic. At least the first 2 acts of The Heretic does demand attention. And I would argue also the year before Barbarian.
Oh,
I would argue Strange Darling. Like if that
and then Malignant the year before that.
I never saw that. I got to put on my list.
Malignant is, if you're a fan,
Malignant is Giallo with a Warner Brothers budget.
If you're a fan of Trauma, is not the only. We'll see this when we get to our end segments, but Trauma is not the only like New York-based low budget like entity. There were a bunch of them, but if you like that.
Well, and also just for those listening at home, Jeff Luce points out, like, again, no spoilers, but in the trailer, there's the new movie Novocaine, which was this last weekend's #1 box office opener. If you watch The Boys or you like Meg Ryan and Dennis Quaid, his kid, Jack Quaid is the lead in Novocaine. But there's a whole fight scene in a restaurant that Jeff is saying, hey, there's a little Toxic Avenger reference there. So again, this is an establishment film that is referencing these films because what's the age of the filmmaker? So these films, this is why I love, Eric, that you brought this, because it's still vital. It's still being referenced, and God bless, Troma's still making things. But let's go quickly through. So like the restaurant scene is killer. He gets the girl out, and here's a love scene. I mean, dating the film, obviously the Twin Towers in the background. but they work in a love story. This is again the blind girl trope, which I would argue totally obviously city life's the whole thing. But then they're also so old they're doing things like this: monster hero saves the day at fast food restaurant! Exclamation point. The Dispatch, which doesn't capitalize their own name, in a newspaper, but like it spins and it goes like this, like you're watching a 30s film, because that's what they grew up watching. And it's kind of there's a happiness. And then I think they also didn't like Nazis, because then you have the local expert who's like, oh, so tell us about this character, Eric. What the hell's happening here?
I don't know. This guy came in, and I didn't even remember this guy until I recently watched it again. I was like, oh, this guy's going to explain why Toxie only goes after bad guys, but he doesn't really explain. He's just like, he seems to only go after bad guys, and that's it. Like, okay, we got that. Is there a scientific reason? Yeah, very odd. But there's a lots of Nazism in Troma movies, like Surf Nazis Must Die, and like there's a lot of that stuff. They go to that quite a bit. So.
Yeah, and they also really hate the establishment. Look at the way that they introduce the mayor. Like, I don't know what's happening in this scene, but like there's always babes in a bikini. I don't know. I'm pretty sure that's Cigar Man, right? Who's there?
That cigar face right there at the end. Yeah.
And then you've got these random guys, and then this guy is like, I guess it's like, I don't know what is happening. It's like Subway sandwich before Subway sandwich, but it's really, he's eating a lot of stuff. But then we get into the, Toxie's been bullied. He comes back to the gym, the scene of a lot of the humiliation, right?
This is the most shocking gore. Like, this one is even worse than the kid getting his head run over, in my opinion. This is the most shocking thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
Brutal.
It's beautiful. I can't believe they did it. I've never been able to go into a gym ever again without thinking about it. It's getting his head run over.
Yeah.
But
there's a good gym death in one of those Final Destination movies too.
Oh, it's horrifying. Just the half a head still moving is just hideous.
But again, this is where they get into trouble with like the Reagan conservative people, right? Because you go from this kind of gore to I haven't been to a lot of spas, but I promise you, gentlemen, it's not what's happening in saunas when I've been in there. Bringing pictures in and kind of having feelings.
It always happens when I go into saunas, and quite frankly, it makes me uncomfortable.
I'm just like, okay, but then of course Toxie, catches up with her and makes the hot ass comment, and Coles might be involved.
The first time we see his face in the movie.
First time, money shot.
I think I wrote down the time code. 48 minutes into the movie is the first time we see his face.
Wow.
We've had, by the way, we've had a romantic scene with Sarah.
Yeah.
Montage without seeing his face. So like they have gone.
He's got similar eye like placement to like part 4 Jason.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
That's true.
And they came out the same year.
Yeah.
The same
year.
year.
I also Hills Have Eyes a little bit. Like,
oh, totally. Hills Have Eyes. I never thought about that.
Sure. Except the Hills Have Eyes, guys. His eyes are
real condition.
Actually looks
on the right level.
Real condition, but there's a horror.
Yeah, he's a great actor. I love that guy.
You go from that kind of brutality to then the spit take, so to speak. Toxie relieving himself. But then there's this montage, which I find is so heartfelt and lovely, where he's like, let me help the old woman across the street. And it's like, and there's a really, I thought it was kind of actually a clever gag where there's a woman who's by herself and she can't get the popcorn open. And he's at the window, he goes, hey! And he opens it. And then because he's apparently hot, it pops. Like, I'm like, that is such a whimsical.
Wouldn't it be cool if there was like an Equalizer sequel with Denzel Washington where all he did was help people with like small problems like that?
That would be great.
The cats out of trees.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, Equalizer becomes Handyman, Probably the box office, but it'd be really sweet. It's lovely that they do this, but then one of my favorite setups, Eric, talk about like, the crime boss, i.e. the mayor, is like, let's surround our dude. So there's like all these guys with guns. And then we learn Toxie's kind of a superhero. So he leaps out of frame and these guys with the guns It's like circular, like they all
they all shoot each other, themselves, which is great. I mean, that's the old classic.
It is great, and it's not what happened at the end of the remake of Assault on Precinct 13.
I never saw the remake.
I've never been more aggravated with anything in my life.
Yeah.
There's this scene in it where they're escaping out of the precinct and they come up through a sewer grate, and then all the bad guys are surrounding them, and then they're all shooting and nobody gets shot. It doesn't make any sense.
Oh, that's horrifying they remade that. That original is the most underrated John Carpenter
film. But the remake has Ethan Hawke. Everybody loves Ethan Hawke.
I love Ethan Hawke. The only thing I like about Assault from Precinct 13, the remake, was Maria Bello. But it's because I love Maria Bello.
She's great.
Yeah, everybody else, I'm like, but so then wrapping it up, so he tries. So this is, again, it's okay for him to assault her because she's part of the bully factor, apparently. Yeah. And then you get to these guys who are so sadistic, they beat the hell out of this old woman just to steal her car. But then Toxie catches up with them. And again, I just want to give a shout out. This is a really big stunt.
A real stunt man. Yeah.
It's like, and this kind of stuff, we grew up seeing this shit on Columbo, man. Like, you would have like Streets of San Francisco, we'd have shootouts and car chases, but this is a very big stunt. And then it crashes and it explodes, and then Toxie comes out and we see that he's okay. But again, he takes out the bad guys, which is just kind of great. And I think then it goes through this kind of rapid fire, we're taking care of people. My favorite is
this lady,
who's a little person who's reading Playgirl with John Travolta on the cover. This is so fabulous. There's so much.
That's the only issue of Playgirl that counts.
But I love that the idea is like, oh, Toxie went crazy and he killed this little person, and they're like, yeah, no, she's into human trafficking.
I know, it's like after. You're like, what's wrong? What happened?
But again, this is the comedy that gets you into trouble. You have a little person who's into human trafficking in Tromaville, known for being the toxic capital of the world. That's all in the same film. Like, yeah. Come on. Points to Lloyd and Michael for doing that. Crazy. So then we go back to the feckless police who are total Nazis. This guy is right out of Hogan's Heroes. He's like, he clinks this thing and he's got an unspecified German accent. And then the corrupt mayor. But it all leads up to, which I kind of love. It's like, okay, well, Toxie's out there. We got to find him. The corrupt politicians are worried about him. And then they find out that he's just there with his girlfriend, and they've called in the National Guard. And, there's a scene where she's actually wearing like a bikini, and I'm like, he's blind and there's no water near you, but she's in a bikini for the final scene, as one does. All us girls do that for fun. So the whole town is like, and this is almost like the I Am Spartacus moment where the town's like, we're not going to let you kill him. He actually took out a lot of bad people. So suddenly it's like you've got this town. It's almost like the lottery. It's like Shirley Jackson. Wait a second. What's happening with this crowd? But these guys are smart. They know what they're doing. So they're taking these references, right? They're putting them into horror films. And I just love this moment where he finally is like, let's see if your politician has any guts. So Toxie rips his guts out.
Where he's putting him back in his body.
Oh my God, it's so disgusting and real, and clearly animal parts or from a butcher or something.
Yeah, somebody had to go to the butcher shop. It was probably James Gunn.
Probably, yeah, that's right. He started off early.
Or Bryan Singer. It was one of those two fuckers.
Oh, well, let's hope James. And so, but then you've got this again, just to close the city light loop, right? The blind girl with flowers. Like they're quoting Chaplin here, and everybody basically, the community saves Toxie. He gets the hot girl who found her dolphin shorts, because it was the 80s, to put up. I love that this is like how she covers up after the bikini. Like that's such a great costume change. Very Cher. But it's fabulous, and so it's like he gets the girl. He kills the bad politicians, all the bullies that gave him in his previous life hell. He just takes out, and you're like, I think this is a really cool hero for that era. And it's a wonderful little exploitation film that they have these little grace notes throughout. That's unusual.
There is a humanity below it. And trust me, like watching all these other trauma movies, none of those other, they're good, they're fun, and I like them. None of them have that. Like sometimes lightning strikes, and lightning struck the Toxic Avenger, and it really just like you relate to these ridiculous, unrealistic characters because there is a humanity deep down, and that's what makes it.
Well, I think so much of it has to do with the fact that this is, I'm not suggesting that the Toxic Avenger is making social commentary, but it's about bully culture and comeuppance against it. In the 80s, and like if you grew up as a kid in the 80s, you grew up in bully culture. That's what if you went to public schools, and probably private schools were even worse. But I went to public school. It was entirely a bully culture. So anything like this on any level, like the Goonies, the aforementioned Goonies is a great example. It's like these outcast nerds who deal with bullshit on the schoolyard all the time, like have some level of comeuppance against it.
Yeah.
And that's,
and he loves his mother. Toxie loves his mother. Like,
yeah,
for you guys. And also, we should say one of the things after all the violence and the poking of the eyes and all that kind of stuff, he brings mops like as a signature.
He his calling card.
So like, there's like something like Zorro's like, I was here, Z. This guy's like, here's a mop. Which is like, it's just it's a very clever. I'm cleaning up the crime and the scum.
Does he purchase mops by the bulk? Like you could find him by like, hey, this guy just ordered 30 mops.
Exactly. It's like, does he know the ShamWow guy?
During the 80s in New Jersey, mops were just everywhere. People just left mops everywhere in New Jersey. So they didn't even, it wasn't conscious. They're
like,
there.
Is it Toxic Avenger or is it Larry from
people were constantly trying to clean? They were trying to clean their neighborhood up, and they were like, "Fuck it, this not gonna work."
It's so awesome. I mean, okay, so Eric, bring us home. Final thoughts on Toxic Avenger. Why do you think it endures? Why do you think it's getting remade?
And number question: how many Toxie movies are there at this point, if you include the upcoming remake?
If you include the new one, there's 5. And I had watched the second and third one before, but I just recently watched all of them.
The fourth one's called Citizen Toxie. Is that
the fourth one's called Citizen Toxie, and it's the weirdest one. It's like Bizarro World, where suddenly Toxie goes into a different universe and trades places with like an evil Toxic Avenger, and that Toxie comes to
it's like Spider-Man 3.
It's exactly like Spider-Man 3. Yes, exact same thing. And actually, Toxic Avenger 2 is Karate Kid Part 2, which I think makes sense because he knew John or G. Alvison, who did the first Karate Kid. I don't know if he did the second one. The second one's pretty good. The third one's terrible. The fourth one's interesting but not great. Okay. I think this movie has endured because it still feels as shocking and relatable as it did back in the 80s. Like, I hadn't seen it in 20 years, maybe. I watched it, and again, I was still as horrified by the kid's head getting run over as I was.
It's rough, and like you can't help it, but your eyes go wide.
Like as sweet as this movie is in some ways, it is not afraid to be mean-spirited. And mean-spirited gets a bad rap in a lot of ways. If you're going to be mean-spirited, you have to balance it. And this movie does the best job of any of the Troma movies, and I would say most shitty movies, of balancing that sort of, oh my God, are they going to shoot a kid in the face at the Mexican place? Right. And, oh, this is City Lights. This is like, Toxie, and the sweet, blind woman. It's just that when you find that perfect balance of those ingredients, that'll last forever. And that's why. And we'll see what happens with the new Peter Dinklage ones. I'm really excited. I thought the trailer looked great. So.
Yeah, I'm curious to see. He seems to have some glowing staff and something. I'm like, maybe a mop. I don't know. We'll just
Plus, it's got Kevin Bacon.
Yeah, I loved him in Maxine. Shout out to Maxine. I thought it was great.
I love the new Kevin Bacon. Like, he's doing so much horror stuff. Yeah. Like, he's circled back to his Friday the 13th origin.
And the following, like that TV show had like a fun thing.
Yeah. And now he's got another TV show where he's like a dead guy who comes back to get revenge on or hunts demons or something.
As one does. Yeah.
Sadly, there is a pilot, and if someone out there who has access to the darkest of webs can get me the Amazon pilot for Tremors with a Tremors TV series with Kevin Bacon reprising his role from the original, please let me see it. Because do you remember Amazon was doing that thing where they would make a pilot and they would put it out? There was like one with Jean-Claude Van Damme where he was like playing himself, but he was really a spy sort of thing. And that had it was fun. But they Amazon did this thing. I know we hate Amazon, but I thought it was a cool idea. They would make a pilot for a show and they'd put it out. And if it got good numbers, then they'd order a series.
Oh, yeah.
And Tremors with Kevin Bacon was made under these auspices, but they just pulled the plug on it. It was fully produced. That's
like a
pulled the plug and didn't show it. I'm like, what? Just show me the goddamn 45 minutes.
By the way, if you guys have access, whoever we're talking to Batgirl, I'd love to see that too.
Oh yeah,
yeah. We might get to see
the Looney Tunes, the Wile E. Coyote movie. I mean, just put these things out there.
There's news about that one today.
It got picked up, they think, for $50 million.
It's not official. They're in negotiations. It's hovering around $50 million.
Has to figure out, is that worth the tax write-off or not? I mean, it's so grim. So grim. Amazing. Well, let's go into our final lightning round.
Oh yeah, let's do this. Be bad or be best. Now, Eric, what we're going to give you is a couple of titles of movies, and we're going to ask you if you think they're so bad they should not be seen by anyone for any reason, or they're so bad everyone should see it.
Because they're awesome.
Because it's great.
And if you haven't seen it, you can judge it by the font, the color,
it doesn't.
the poster artist. Fine. All right.
I gotcha.
Do you want to go first, Tracy, or do you want me
to? I will go first. Be bad, be best. Early Miramax actually started with this bad boy. I thought it was a little bit of a grindhouse, and it has some people of note in it as well. Is it be bad? Is it be best? Even though Weinstein wrote it, it is, of course, The Burning. You've never seen crops look like sharecrops.
I've seen this poster before. I've never seen the movie. I love the poster. I'm a big fan of like those sort of like drawn rip-off of like the Drew Struzan sort of like,
right? It's like a romance.
It's like really cool. It's got a little bit of the thing going on with the light coming out of it. I'm gonna say it's Be Best. Yes, I'm gonna say Be Best for that. I haven't seen it, but I'm definitely gonna watch it now.
All right. Todd, what about you?
It's a Friday the 13th.
I've seen them all.
Adjacent rip-off maybe movie.
Yep.
I love it. It's great. If people are getting slashed at a camp, I don't know why. Maybe it's because like my parents never sent me to a sleepaway camp and I always wanted to go. So maybe I like these movies because I'm like, I didn't go.
This is a nasty little movie. It's absolutely a response to Friday the 13th. It's absolutely a knockoff. I think young Jason Alexander is in it. He has so much hair you can't believe his hair.
Oh yeah, right. I forgot.
Bob Weinstein wrote it. Like, it's a weird thing, but it really is the beginning of Miramax. So they started also with like slashers, and it did well. But I think it's really strangely well done. But it is a nasty movie. The mean part of Toxic Avenger, this film is in spades without any of the heart, so it's a little sadistic, but if you're into slashers, it's a really good one. So that was
I'm gonna watch it this week. I can't wait. I'm so excited.
And
it's so good to find a slasher that you haven't seen, right?
I mean, that's the thing. Like, you knock them out when you're young, but there's always blind spots. There's always little blind spots. Especially like that late 80s period, like the late 80s, early 90s, when they had died out and people weren't paying attention to them. Those are like, you can find all kinds of wonderful little
diamonds. That home video market, so they can afford to make them, and a lot of early stars start in them still, which is great.
Yeah, but the 90s and the early aughts had like, because of the video market, had like some just like those bloody murder movies, and I own them, of course, and I've watched them multiple times, but they're just so low budge. I mean, like we're talking about a low budge genre to begin with, and when they're too DIY, then I'm like,
but again, like in the late 80s, that was the pre-CGI era. So you got the best practical effects ever. So like I binged all the Howling movies sequels that I hadn't seen, and you get up to like Halloween, I think like 7, and the transformations, the movies get worse. The transformations get better and better and better. Then they took like a 10-year break, came back with another one that's all CGI, and it just fell dead. So like those late 80s.
Have you seen Howling New Moon Rising? I can't remember which number it is. It's just called The Howling New Moon Rising.
Is it a practical effects one? I think I saw all the practical effects.
Yeah, but okay. I like there's a lot of this backstory of this movie I'd like to know about. But it mostly takes place on a ranch with people talking on a porch.
I have seen it. Yes, it's one of the ones I watched. It was great.
It's such a backyard production, but yet it has like I understand the Amityville movies at this point,
right? It's a
because like, anyone can say Amityville in a title because it's not it's a place, but the Howling. Like they have to pay for the rights. So that one's particularly interesting to me. You can only get it physically. It's probably streaming somewhere, but you can only get it physically on VHS. But there, like, it's such a fascinatingly dull movie that I want to know, like, who made this? Who thought it was, this is what we should do with our money?
Amazing. Jeff Lutz is reminding us The Burning is free on Tubi for those who haven't seen it.
Oh, you got commercials, but it's free on Tubi.
But it's free.
All right.
What's your be bad, be best?
I went, all my selections, I try to be thematic. So I went with a trauma movie that I honestly forgot I owned until I was like, oh shit, I forgot I own this. On Blu-ray, no less. Romeo and Juliet.
This is as be best as humanly possible. I love this movie, and this is something that that you were talking about a little earlier, Tracy. Is that like Lloyd Kaufman wanted to do high art within the sort of like parameters of this like shitty little like horror genre. Right. And I don't know if Romeo and Juliet came out before or after the Baz Luhrmann Romeo and Juliet, but it does what the Baz Luhrmann Romeo and Juliet was trying to do better than that movie, in my opinion. I loved Romeo and Juliet.
Yes.
The bestest is what I think for that one.
Everything you said, co-sign, absolutely. Saw this one in the theater. Because I was like, wait, Troma's playing at the theater, and it was at I was in Orange County. It was at the Port Theater in Newport Beach, which was like an old deco single screen from the 30s, right off the coast. So it was like, stormy night, the winter, and I went to go see that. And I was like, oh man, he made it to the. I remember thinking they made it into a theater because I'd mostly seen his films on video.
I saw Ghost World there.
Yeah, I love Ghost World. But yeah, be best, love.
All right, Romeo and Juliet is a winner. Let's do our next segment, which is called When Bad Films Happen to Good Actors.
Yes.
And we'll present titles of movies and say why we think this is something that happened to a good actor who didn't deserve it. And Eric, you can weigh in and tell us if you think we're right or wrong. I'll go first this time, in the essence of fairness. So let me preface this by saying I love this movie.
Okay.
It was also a movie that I made the mistake of showing Hillary when we were only newly living together. But I love it. I think it's kind of comedic genius on a lot of levels, but I'll explain where I'm going. The movie is Frank Henenlotter's Frankenhooker. And the reason I bring it up is because Louise Lasser plays Jeffrey's mother, the lead character's mom. And she's so fucking funny in this movie. She is so funny. He's great too. I'm blanking on his name. James Lorenz. He used to come into a cafe that I worked at in Studio City. And it was like I had seen all these celebrities come in, and he was the first time where I got starstruck. I was like, holy shit. And I asked my manager, I was like, look, can I tell him that I really love Frankenhooker? My manager was like, go ahead. And he was really flattered. He was working on a show called Grace Under Fire at the time. But anyway, it's mostly the reason why I bring it up. It's Louise Lasser, whose career just got destroyed by Saturday Night Live. Do you know her whole story? Like, she hosted the show, and she was fucked up. It was the 70s.
Oh yeah, I did know this. Yeah,
they were all fucked up, but she was hosting the show and obviously couldn't handle how fucked up she was. So she got banned. I think she was the first person to get banned, or one of the first people to get banned from SNL. And that's the only reason I bring it up. It's like, oh man, she was comic genius, and
I love Louise Lasser. She was incredible. I saw a really bad what was it? It was like a National Lampoon, like Gold Diggers or something with her. That was just really bad. I saw that at a theater because I love her so much.
Well, but also,
I love that you brought this up, because this is the movie that actually Tracy and I talked about me coming on to do in the first place.
Yeah.
Oh, Frankenhooker?
Yeah, Frankenhooker, like a year ago, because we agreed that Poor Things is just a bad remake.
It wants to be Frankenhooker. It wants to be that good.
We haven't done Frankenhooker on this show.
We have not. Maybe Eric will come back.
I would love to come back and do Frankenhooker.
Have we done any Henenlotter on this show?
We failed. We have not.
We have not done
Brain Damage would be a good one too. Yeah.
Oh, Brain Damage.
So good. But I was going to say, but also speaking of Louise Lasser, like, I feel like she's also the mom in one of my favorite Thanksgiving slasher film, Blood Rage.
Oh yeah.
She gives a great performance in that too. That's not cranberry sauce. I mean, come on, guys. That's the best tagline ever.
So fucking funny.
She's great.
She's effortlessly funny.
I mean, like, she's just like, she had this. I mean, I think she was Woody Allen's first wife. I mean,
Bananas. She's amazing in Bananas.
She's Woody's really, yeah. I think I worry that she's a little forgotten by younger generations, but
she's in Happiness too. I just recently rewatched.
That's right.
I think it's because of Lorne Michaels.
You might be right. I'd love to watch that SNL.
Here's what's really weird about what
Good luck. You won't be able to find it.
One of the other films I saw at the Port Theater was Frankenhooker. I saw that as a midnight show. I was in high school when it came out, and I was like, how do I not go see a film called Frankenhooker? I mean, that sounds like want to date. You know?
I saw that movie at the Waverly Twin probably 7 times.
I loved it. I was like, this is insane. And then when it came out on video, I was really pissed because it was like $100. My mom wouldn't buy for me because she's like, I'm not buying you $100 Frankenhooker. But it was a clamshell thing. If you hit the button, it goes, want a date. And it was like, oh my God, how do you not have that?
Yeah, that VHS was fucking great.
But it was those old fashioned.
Yeah. But it had a button and it said, want a date.
And I will always die angry that I didn't just make more money at the movie theater I was working at so I could buy it myself. But
what's yours?
Hooker.
Yep.
My movie, and I will also preface this with, I actually enjoy this movie. I think there's one sequence, I'm not going to give anything away, with a baby on a beach that is genius. I think it's a terrible film. It is absolutely an Italian reaction to the success of Jaws in 1975. This comes out in 1977. It is, of course, the classic Tentacles.
Oh, I've never seen this, but I'm so familiar with it. I want to see it. Tracy.
So this is a bad movie that happened. I'm assuming you're talking about Bo Hopkins.
No, all of them. Henry Fonda, Bo Hopkins, Shelley Winters, and John Huston show up in a film called Tentacles. I mean, come on! They like took old Hollywood, who were aging out in the almost in the late 70s, and they throw it. I mean, Henry Fonda shows up, and I swear to God, he's like talking in a suit, and he's looking at it. Well, this is what's happening on the beaches today. He's like the bad mayor from Amity. He's like, hey, Martin, you say barracuda, people say, huh? You say shark. Fourth of July. It's a completely it's that kind of a read, but it's Henry Fonda. I think
Bo Hopkins has a long history of being tentacles type movies.
But Shelley,
I love Bo Hopkins. I own a copy of Mutant. I have all the Walking Tall sequels.
I'm just saying, John Huston, y'all. He'd already done Chinatown, okay, as an actor. So he's in this slumming as well. I think it's terrible. I love it. So,
but it's a paycheck and a free trip to Italy.
But it's a terrible movie and it's a great cast.
I am an obsessive Jaws fan. I feel like it's one of those it's just movie. It's movie the movie, and I love any of the knockoffs. The Deep and Orca and all of those.
Orca. We haven't got Orca either. Someone bring us Orca. Come on, when the Orca, the house on the stilts, and it's.
I know we've talked about Shark Night on the show.
Shark Night
multiple times.
Oh, good! I love
Jaws: The Revenge. I think would be a word.
We love Jaws.
That movie is better than people give it. It's not good, but it's better than people give it credit.
It's more entertaining than you would expect it to be, but also people around Christmas time, everybody's like, it's this Christmas movie, it's this New Year's movie, it's this new. Jaws: The Revenge is a Christmas movie.
Oh, I never
it
thought
takes
about
place over Christmas. It climaxes during Junkanoo, which is the New Year's celebration in the Bahamas. It's a fucking Christmas movie, you guys.
Just like Die Hard, y'all.
Yeah.
The only other shark movie that's a Christmas movie is Santa Jaws.
Santa Jaws is everything. Eric, have you seen Santa Jaws?
I've never even heard of Santa
Jaws. Oh my God, Eric.
Really
quickly, I'm going to pitch you Santa Jaws. It is low budget CGI shark, but the best thing about it is the shark keeps eating and crashing into things. So someone's Santa hat is on his fin. He has like accoutrement that comes on him. So by the end of the movie, he's fucking dressed like Santa Claus the shark as he eats people. It is chef's kiss.
My biggest problem is which one of these movies do I watch first?
The only thing about Santa Jaws to keep in mind is this is a PG-13 movie. This is a Gremlins-esque Christmas horror.
I don't judge. There's room for the Toxic Avenger, and there's room for Poltergeist.
Santa hat on his fin.
It's delightful. Santa Jaws is delightful.
It's so good.
All right, let's end on a positive note as we like to do with the boost. Eric, we're just gonna tell the people movies we think they should see that we love, maybe that are related to the Toxic Avenger
that we've seen. Because
shut up, Alexa.
Alexa's violent.
Sorry about that. She started talking.
Alexa, do you know water? No.
Trace, you want to go first?
Okay. I'm kind of cheating a little bit. So I set my Alexa off. It's all. So we're all, you guys, Skynet's aware. I hate to on this podcast, but it's true. So what I'm cheating a little bit this week. Because we usually do a movie that we want to boost, or sometimes a TV show that we want to boost. And I've been so depressed about the state of our world. And the thing that moved me the most this week, and I have to give major points to Kimberly Snyder, my amazing wife, but also who was here last week doing the Devil's Advocate with us.
Great episode.
It's so good. She was like, you have to see, because we love to cook. And so we Chef's Table. And I was like, yeah, I love Chef's Table. There is a silo of Chef's Table that is called Chef's Table Noodles. And there's only 4 episodes, and there's some of the best documentary filmmaking I've ever seen. Not only are they shot like it's food porn, it's lit like you're you know, in a masterclass film, but they're actually documentary films about the chefs themselves. And the first one is, if you're in LA, it's about Funky, you know, who has his noodle like Mother Wolf, but also Funky in Beverly Hills. But like his story is so fascinating. But there's everybody from like the widower in Italy to the refugee from Cambodia. I was so moved by all of these stories, and it was so brilliantly produced. I'm like, you know what? These are like little mini documentaries. So I want to boost Chef's Table Noodles. You can watch it on Netflix. It's its own silo. There's only 4. They're absolutely incredible pieces of filmmaking. And I didn't think, I was like, yeah, I like to watch food shows. This is the filmmaker.
There's only 4?
There's only 4 in this. They've specialized about noodles. And I just, it's really about the chefs behind their stories and how they got there. And then it's food porn, but it's, if you're not tearing up when you watch some of these, I'd be surprised.
Oh.
They're better films than some of the things that won some Oscars a couple weeks ago.
I love a short-lived reality show.
My wife's
My
gonna love
favorite-
it. I'll recommend it to her. She's gonna go watch it.
It's so good. And start with the LA episode, because then you're going to want to go there. But the way he comes to it, and he goes back to Italy, Funky does, and it's like the women who keep the tradition of certain kinds of noodle making by hand done. And that's what he does. And that's why in his restaurant, he's in a glass booth and he's there every night doing this. This is the old ways from Italy that go back ancient times that only these small group of women have kind of kept alive. And he goes back every year, and he has become the kind of the person who's keeping it going. And because now he's a trendy chef in LA, it'll keep going. Now people are following him, but this goes back, it's about history and culture. And it's just an absolutely, that's just one. But the Cambodian gal who has a place in San Francisco's Ferry Building is also very moving. And then there's the widow in Italy that I was particularly like. But it's about people. And I just feel like for all the documentaries that are winning Oscars, I'm not so sure that these weren't some of the best docs I've seen. So
Yeah, they're good.
Yeah.
If you want a good short-lived documentary series and you haven't seen Fishing with John, I would say watch that as soon as possible.
John Laurie, amazing. I love it. Fishing with John. I love it.
So good.
What do you got?
All right. Here's mine. Again, this is in the thematic place that Trauma is. Schlock movies in the New York, New Jersey area. Every time I get a chance to champion this film, I do. It's also got a part is played by an actor who, the lead actor in Frankenhooker, is in this movie. And it is about homeless people, and they get some bad booch that makes them melt. And it's called Street Trash.
Yep.
If you like Toxic Avenger and Henenlotter movies, if you like Trauma, you have to watch Street Trash if you haven't, because
I have it right here.
it's it's so offensive and wrong at every turn, every level. It's not a well-made movie. Narratively, it's just like episodic. It manages to be continually shocking.
That poster is exactly what the movie is.
Also, the fact that it's called the Meltdown Edition. Meltdown. This is a marketing genius. That is William Castle once removed. That Trauma does so well.
But so much of the movie is not people melting. It's just people behaving poorly because they're crazy.
So Lloyd
Kaufman junkyard
doesn't get along. Forget the director's name, but they have like a beef apparently. Lloyd Kaufman and the director of Street Trash, and I forget his name. Like he trash talked him on the commentary of the Toxic Avenger. I was like, oh, you don't like him? What happened?
So
there was like a falling out or something.
Such a weird thing to be in competition over. We want to be the worst. You're not the worst. We are, you assholes.
I love it. I love it.
It's so great.
Oh, so good.
Eric, thank you so much for doing the show. I hope you're back on soon.
Yeah, I'm sorry it took us too long. Eric, come back any old
I'd
time.
love to. This is the best night of my life. Thanks, guys.
Oh,
And I don't want to bring up your family members, but it was Sean who commented on a Facebook post about this show. It was like, well, I can't wait to see this one. And I was like, oh
Look,
shit, they're brothers. I didn't know. So I'm delighted that happened. What a serendipitous thing.
I would like to shout out to Fuzz Track City right
oh, hey.
Yeah.
Directed by Steve Hicks, starring Todd Anderson and my brother Sean Wing.
That's the only way these movies get done anymore is on no budge. I mean, when we were making the movie, I asked Hicks, I was like, is this like a shoestring budge? And he was like, no, it's zero budget.
I was like,
we have no budget.
It's a slip on. What it is.
But it's like the fact that there isn't enough, how hard they had to fight now to get a remake of a Toxic Avenger movie
Just released
out
it was
in the
done.
theaters or released at all is really damning to the current state of cinema. And I would just like to shout out to all the independent artists who are trying to do what Troma did in the 80s, which with much less money now, and like it's so hard to market stuff and get it out there. I want to encourage everybody, maybe not the guys who made Retard Dead, but everybody else should be trying to make these movies if you can, if it's within your means. And I mean it's within your means. I mean, like Hicks dumped tons of his own money into making this low budget movie. Yeah. So he took a bath to make this, to make art. And I think that's a huge thing. I think that's what's great about Troma. Yes. And Henenlotter, a lot of these guys, and all over the place. But we don't, there's no drive-ins anymore. There's no VHS tapes anymore. So where is the market? Where's the market for this? And I don't know, we got to bring it back to a more talented people. I know there's stuff out there that's low budge, in the genre flares, but it's so like sometimes you spend too much time in your backyard. You gotta, it's too low budge. That's the amazing thing about Fuzz Track City is it's essentially a backyard production, but it looks like $1 million.
Absolutely.
Incredible.
Shout out to Johnny Durango, the director of photography on that. He would make us wait around for the golden hour, and we'd be like, what the fuck are we doing?
You got to get that magic.
And then boom, you saw it in the movie. You're like, oh, okay, that's why we waited around all the time.
I love it. I want to do one quick promo, shameless plug. Anyone who's in Los Angeles, not this Saturday, but the following, the 29th, my new book, Cinema Bizarro, I contributed 5 chapters, which is a celebration of all the things we love. We're going to be doing a really fun panel at the Philosophical Research Society. It's in Los Feliz, right down the street from Tam O'Shanter. We're going to do a screening of a 1956 Japanese science fiction film that actually, it's called A Warning from Space. And the screenwriter wrote Kurosawa's Seven Samurai, so there's that. But also Kubrick, when he was trying to figure out what the visuals should look like for 2001, this was the film he referenced. It's Japan's first color science fiction film. And it's just an oddball situation that a lot of fancy filmmakers that we all know have seen, and I would say liberally borrowed from. It's a rare screening, so you can come if you want. You can get your book signed if you want to buy it. I'm going to be on a panel geeking out with people who know way more than I do, but then we're going to watch the movie. And some of us might be getting cocktails at the Tam O'Shanter afterwards if you want to roll down the hill. So anybody who wants to do that, I'll post it on the post. But Cinema Bizarro you can get from Black Bear Manor if you don't like Amazon, or if you want to buy it from Amazon, it helps us get another sequel because the first one did so well on Amazon, they let us make another book. So that.
Oh, and if you want to buy my book, there's not going to be any
We shall.
But you could come over to my house. I'll sell you a copy.
Right.
I have some author copies. Murder Valley. It's on Amazon. If you're boycotting Amazon, I get it.
Let's support Todd anyway.
It's just the cheapest way to self-publish. It
Support
costs me.
Todd anyway, you guys. Get over it. You're hurting Todd. Buy his book.
Yeah, buy my book, just not anything else.
Just his book. And this one if you want.
Yeah, buy that. But you can buy that like a lot of places.
Yeah.
All right, Eric, is there anything upcoming that you want to plug or
No, I'm okay. Yeah, I'm not sure I'm allowed to talk about the show I'm on right now. So actually,
oh, okay.
I'll plug that, but I'm like, has it been announced yet? I don't really know. So,
but look for a new show that
has my credit on it.
Hey, Steve Hicks, love to you
great.
all. Love you, Steve.
Love you, Hicks, too, man. All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night. Be
Good night. Thank you.
See you next time.
See you next week.